into the runway. This is runway 25 right. So this is the ILS localizer antenna to runway 25 right. Doesn't look like a lot, but you have no idea how important that is. Without that, on these foggy days here on the coast, we couldn't get airplanes in. That sends a signal all the way down to the approach end of the runway, about 2 miles away, down there off of Aviation Boulevard. It sends a signal down that far and even further out, typically about 5 miles, where the pilot, his radio will then tune that frequency. So it's basically a big radio antenna. It sends a radio frequency to match up with the radios in the cockpit of the airplane, and that provides him guidance to the runway. There's 2 pieces to that system. That's the localizer antenna, which gives you direction left and right or center on the runway. Obviously you want to be hopefully on the center of the runway, but it provides you directional guidance. The other piece, as we come around the corner, I'll show you, is the glide slope shack. Again, it's the same idea, but what it does is it provides you with vertical guidance to make sure that you land on the end of the, what they call the threshold of the runway, which is a specific distance down the runway. So those two signals link up in the cockpit, and the pilots use that to help with bad weather. But so that was the ILS antenna. Now for this particular runway where that ILS antenna was, the glide slope shack is all the way down about 750 feet past the approach end, all the way down at the other end of the airport. So what we're going to look at right here, this little shack just to the left here, that's the glide slope shack, but that's for the runway coming in over the ocean. So that would be for runway 7 right. So essentially, that is the other component of the instrument landing system. But again, we can't see the glide slope that ties to that ILS antenna that we just saw, the localizer antenna, because it's at the opposite end of the runway. So for this runway here, 7 right, this is the glide slope shack that gives you your vertical guidance. But the ILS antenna, similar to the one that we just saw around the corner, that is all the way at the far end of the runway, about 2 miles away. So that's the other component. So if you ever hear ILS, instrument landing system, those are your 2 key components. The glide slope shack for your vertical guidance, and then the localizer antenna, which gives you your horizontal. Hopefully gets you right down about 700 feet to 1,000 feet down the runway for landing. So over here on the right is most of the what we call the on-airfield catering. So we got Sky Chefs. So these are your aircraft caterers. So anybody that still actually puts food on an airplane, we have a kitchen here, so some of it's cooked here and then put on the trucks and taken directly to the airplanes. This right here is cool. This is called the private suites. You can see all the nice cars out in front here, and you see the 4 or 5 windows back there. You can pay an annual fee, and these are for really your VIPs, your very wealthy, your performers, your artists, actors, and so on. I'd have to look it up, but I think it's about a $4,000 or $5,000 a year membership, and then a per use fee. But basically, you get your own little room there. I actually was in there when they were building it. They stock it with whatever you can think of. It's all in there. They have a bed, couches, the whole thing. So it's not cheap, but it's called the private suites. They have their own customs facility in there with a border patrol agent. They have TSA in there, so you can imagine having basically your own personalized service with if you're flying international with a CBP officer and a TSA agent. So you got the money, that's the way to go. Alright, I think this is it. So hope everybody enjoyed it, and again, if anybody has any questions, I'll be here for a few minutes. Just come up and awesome. Otherwise, hope you guys all enjoy your summer, and everybody's making a little bit of money, so that's a good thing, right? So enjoy, everybody.